Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome to our ongoing adventure in self-realization, advancement in Krishna consciousness, according to our beloved founder Acharya, in his footsteps and according to his instructions. Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. By his grace, we know something about Krishna, and we can know unlimitedly more. So we'll start. Today is the 27th of November, 2022. I'm in Whangarei. Please let us know where you are, who you are, and even what your interest is. What you'd like to get out of this class on Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized, the entire Gita in one chapter. It's apparently limited. It's in one chapter, and it's unlimited because the Gita is more than just the basics. Text number 50, Chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita, text number 50. If you have the same volume as I do, then that's page 135. We'll chant Jai Radha Madhava first. Briefly, a little bit of Hare Krishna to create the most auspicious atmosphere for delving more deeply and having more connection and realization with Krishna and his philosophy. Particularly Lord Chaitanya's philosophy of Chinti Beta Beta Tattva. The philosophy being non-different from the Lord. And because the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, is completely absorbed and absolutely surrendered to the Lord, non-different from his words. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yasoda Nandana Pradana Ranjana, Yasoda Nandana Pradana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yasoda Nandana Pradana Ranjana, Yasoda Nandana Pradana Ranjana, Yasoda Nandana Pradana Ranjana, Yasoda Nandana Pradana Ranjana, Yamunatira Vanachari, Yamunatira Vanachari, Yamunatira Vanachari, Yamunatira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yasoda Nandana Pradana Ranjana, Yasoda Nandana Pradana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Haribol Gaur Haribol Nitai Gaur Haribol Gaur Haribol. Welcome, Howard. Hare Krishna. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya, Astatara Satashi, Shrimad is Divine Grace, Abhai Charana Aravinda Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya, Astatara Satashi, Shrimad is Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Guru Parampara Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya's Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Saho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna, Gopi Gopinath Shamakunda, Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Mathura Dhama Ki Jai, Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Shri Dwarka Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtanya Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaurnatai Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Subhadran Baladev Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Ki Jai, Shri Rukmini Dwarkadesh Ki Jai in Los Angeles. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo, all glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Jayate. Ma Om Shubhaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachani Nivasesha Sunyavadi Paschatadi Sakarani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangam langayate girim, yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. By the mercy of the spiritual master, a lame man can cross over mountains, and a dumb man can compose eloquent poetry. Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, contents of the Gita summarized. Text number 50. If you have it, hard copy in front of you, or online, or not, doesn't matter. I'll repeat the Sanskrit myself and do your best to repeat after me. Howard, if you want to join us on Zoom, and where it's more interactive in the future, let me know, and I'll send you along with your email address, I'll send you the Zoom link. You can be on Facebook or YouTube, or with us directly on Zoom, with or without video. You can actually exchange directly. We can hear each other as well, which is good for me. Buddhi yukto jahati ha ube sukrita dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karma sukoshalam buddhi yukto jahati ha ube sukrita dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karma sukoshalam. I didn't leave space for you to repeat, did I? Let's do that again. Do your best to repeat after me. Buddhi yukto jahati ha ube sukrita dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karma sukoshalam. And repeat the word meanings after me. Buddhi yukta, one who is engaged in devotional service. Jahati, can get rid of. Iha, in this life. Ube, in both. Sukrita dushkrite, in good and bad results. Tasmat, therefore. Yogaya, for the sake of devotional service. Yujasva, be so engaged. Yoga, Krishna consciousness. Karmasu, in all activities. Koshalam, art. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, O Arjuna, which is the art of all work. Please repeat. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, O Arjuna, which is the art of all work. Report. Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction. Birth after birth. Repeat that. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action. Really short purport today. Prabhupada ki jai. Uriyukto jahati ha ube sukrita dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karma sukoshalam. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, O Arjuna, which is the art of all work. Srila Prabhupada continues to explain from all different aspects how to live perfectly. Some people may say that it's not possible to be perfect in this world. Now, in one sense, that's true, because as long as we have a body, there will be old age, disease, and death, and rebirth again. Or I should say, as long as we have material consciousness. But the body, even Srila Prabhupada, his body was perfectly spiritual, and yet it did undergo the material changes. But living perfectly is not about material perfection. There's no such thing. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing changes the same, remains the same even for a moment in this world. Everything is changing. Constantly. That's the nature of this world. Living perfectly means to live as I am. I was talking to what I call a so-called Christian yesterday named Jacob. Very intelligent, and he was questioning, but mostly his questioning was challenging. He's a convinced Christian. For me, it seems quite dogmatic and fanatical, maybe a fundamentalist even, which basically is that it's nothing to do with Christianity, or very little to do. Externally, using the names Christ and quoting from the name Christ and quoting from Bible and proclaiming oneself to be a true follower of Christ. But Christ taught to love God, to love Krishna. And generally, it's not actually Krishna conscious. It's not actually Christianity. Christ they're following. They're following their own convictions that they understand and they know, and they're right. So it's very hard to talk with them unless they're open. I challenged them. I said, it is, if God isn't limited and understanding of him is not limited, then are you open to learning more about him from wherever it comes from, So it became quite a debate, and I was challenging him, encouraging him by challenging him to look beyond and at least suspend his convictions of exactly his being right. So here Prabhupada is taking us further into the idea of negating karma. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. So the translation is he rids himself of good and bad actions. And in the word meanings, good and bad results. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. Reactions. And in different places, what reactions are, whether in seed form or fructifying or already manifest, are described. Prabhupada doesn't go into that here, but it's interesting. I've named this particular session today, this discussion today, is how to change your karma. And Prabhupada, it's interesting to see how Prabhupada says that the first sentence he mentions being engaged in devotional service. The second sentence, he says, therefore strive for yoga. So he's equating yoga, and it's right there in the word meanings. Yoga means Krishna consciousness. That's not how the general public understand yoga, but that's Krishna's meaning. In full Krishna consciousness, yoga means devotional service, Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada expands in the purport. He says that because we have been accumulating these various reactions of good and bad work, not just bad work, but good work, because good work is equally bad. Prabhupada says, in this material world, everything is bad. Good or bad is all bad. It's like the example of someone says, oh, this stool is dry, it's not so bad. Prabhupada says, wet stool, dry stool, it's all bad. So, excuse the gross example. Prabhupada does that sometimes. So because of that, as such, he is continuously ignorant of his real content. So Prabhupada doesn't say it here directly, but he is saying it without saying it, that because of the accumulated reactions to our past work, good or bad, we remain ignorant of our real position. That's interesting that the reactions, the karma, covers the consciousness, the awareness, the natural knowledge, chit factor, sat chit ananda. We're eternal. We are eternal, full of knowledge and joy, spiritual bliss. The reactions, those reactions like karma, those reactions and actions and reactions, they cover the actual brilliance, knowledge, reality of our very selves. We remain ignorant of our real constitutional position. So that indicates how important it is to understand not only what karma is, and Peter Burwash relates, he shares how Prabhupada told him two things when he first met Prabhupada. You probably know the name Peter Burwash, famous international tennis management professional. Had tennis teacher training institutions internationally, and he required his students, the tennis teacher trainees, to follow the regular principles. Prabhupada said, he's more strict than we are. So Prabhupada told me two things that began my spiritual life. He said, your spiritual life begins when you understand the laws of karma. I've never heard it like that, but spiritual life begins when we understand the laws of karma. And Krishna says himself that the intricacies of action and reaction are so complex and very difficult to understand. So many subtleties and complexities in that, in about action and reaction. So whether we understand it on a basic level or more deeply, that's when our spiritual life begins. So we all know, we have all heard about karma. We have some idea that karma means the action and reaction. What goes around comes around. As you sow, so shall you reap, etc. As what goes up must come down. That every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So many ways to describe in sutra form what karma is. We all know about that, and at the same time, bringing it into the practical application in our lives means to see, all right, so how am I performing or creating karma or not creating karma? And Krishna gives the answer in this verse. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. So we're talking about this life. Prabhupada says, even in this life. So that indicates to me that, yes, everything from the past, but also what we're doing now. So if we're engaged in a different kind of activity called devotional service, Buddhi yoga, karma yoga, Krishna consciousness, there is no reaction. Now someone may say, well, that's pure devotion. All right, so even if it is, whatever level we're on in our Krishna consciousness, maybe we chant Hare Krishna once a day. Maybe we chant 32 rounds a day. Maybe we've just become vegetarian, or maybe we're struggling to give up illicit sex, gambling, so many obstructive activities. Even, as Krishna says, even a little endeavor on this path can protect one from the greatest type of fear, falling back into ignorance, back into the cycle of birth and death. So even a little advancement. So it's not that we have to become pure in order to get results. As soon as we start, there's no loss or diminution on this path. No loss or diminution. So we take a little step, and Krishna appreciates that so much, just a little endeavor. Of course, we want to increase our endeavor. We want to ultimately become fully endeavoring, fully, as Krishna Prabhupada says here. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna in all respects. So as we remove some of the reactions by engaging as best we can in devotional service, and progressively, even if we're not steady, we want to at least be unsteadily going up, steadily being unsteady, going up. Then gradually, as we become more adept and more practiced, and because Krishna consciousness becomes more habitual, and the endeavor, the pleading to Krishna, calling out to Krishna, becoming greedy, lowlyam, Krishna, please help me. And the more we advance, the more we'll see how fallen we are. Now that can be very discouraging. So the mind can trick us like that. That, oh, you're feeling more discouraged, or you're seeing more how far away I am. I'm seeing more and more how much further away I am now than I was before. But it's not like that. It's because I'm becoming more aware of how far I am. Not that I've become further. In fact, becoming aware of it means I'm less far. Becoming aware of how far I am, that's consciousness. That means the ignorance is being dissipated. And that's evidence that the process is working. So let's take it like that. When people say positive thinking, this is the perfection of it, because you can think positively in material life and you still have to die. People can pretend to be happy all the time and keep smiling, but underneath, unless they're advancing in Krishna consciousness, it's not real. It's a show, and it's called spiritual bypassing. Now, this is connected with karma, ridding ourselves of karma, because on the one hand, we have people, I say one group, I call poor me, the poor me group. I know well about that myself. It means that, I have so much karma, and it's so strong. The laws of karma are so strong, and I've got this, and therefore I'm suffering because of my karma. Now, for an atheist or materialist, that's true. Usually they don't even know about karma. They wouldn't even say such a thing, but that's their move. They're victims. And Prabhupada uses that term. By surrendering to Lord Krishna in all respects, becoming liberated from the chained victimization. One who is averse to Krishna consciousness or avoids Krishna consciousness, even though it's there, they're chained. Prabhupada's language is so incredible. Chained victimization. They're obliged. They're forced. They're victims, even though they think they're free, or at least tomorrow or the next day or one day someday, I'm going to become free because I know what to do. I'm working it all out. I've got this problem. I can't relate with other people, or I can't make enough money, or people don't like me, or haven't got the best job or the best enough education. Then they hope against hope. Prabhupada calls it. They're hoping for something in which there's no hope. So even being aware of how far we are from Krishna, or how fallen we are, so to speak, this is a good sign. But if I blame my karma for my lack of advancement, or my weaknesses, or my anarthas, my bad habits, that we're actually avoiding responsibility. Prabhupada says, spiritual life, or human life, is a life of responsibility. So if we take responsibility for being who I really am, and we listen to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada's instructions, we know that we can change our karma instantly by engaging in progressive devotions, by doing what we're doing already, and doing it a little better, a little more for Krishna. And when I chant my rounds, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, calling out in the mood of supplication, oh my Lord, oh energy of the Lord, please engage me in your service. Not mine, not my mind's service, but your service, please. And Krishna is always willing. So we have so many excuses, but to avoid the excuses by blaming karma or Krishna or the weather or our mind or our health or our so-called poverty, this is avoiding responsibility. This is avoiding what Krishna is giving us. It's avoiding the reality of our eternal existence, full of knowledge, full of awareness and bliss. Surrendering to Krishna is not dependent on Krishna. Yes, the results are Krishna's mercy, but he says, as he says also here in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatam mam prabhu, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Not I reward them accordingly and then they surrender. No, Krishna's waiting for us, and he's watching, and he's, even though he appreciates any little spark, any little endeavor, he rewards it hugely. As Prabhupada say, you take one step towards Krishna and he will take 10 steps towards you. So that's Krishna's mood. But he wants to reciprocate. He does reciprocate. And yet if we don't reciprocate, he's not very impressed. Why should he reciprocate with someone who is not reciprocating with him? Rasa, relationship, depends on two ways. And we're fully capable, each one of us is fully capable of reciprocating with Krishna. We may think, oh, I'm so fallen, I'm so sinful, I'm so ignorant or so slow or so poor or so uneducated or weak or sick or whatever. The mind tells us that we're any of these things. And yet if we think about the basic reality, it's completely nonsense. There's no material condition which limits us in Krishna consciousness whatsoever. Hoitukiya pratihata. There is nothing material which limits Krishna consciousness. So if we hang on to those excuses, that's called anartha, unwanted things. One of the bad habits is first of all, it's listening to the mind at all, but that's very advanced. So at least, as Krishna says, dearest touch and namuyati. the happiness and distress, good and bad thoughts, they arise from sense perception, whether it's subtle or gross or subtle. The mental perception, the mind is the center of all the senses. There's nothing that can limit. So the more we chant Hare Krishna, the reactions are removed, and engage, not just chanting, of course, engaging in service in any and every way that we possibly can. Cooking for Krishna, offering Krishna, taking prasadam, studying, discussing, doing our work, traveling, driving, taking a shower, everything we can do, cleaning our teeth, brushing our teeth. That's also a secondary type of devotional service. So if we accept the tricks of the mind, the dictation of the mind, rather than what Krishna and Prabhupada say, that's a bad habit. That's unwanted. And if we're giving into that, we may be doing what we call spiritual bypassing. That's another connected subject. But if we allow those anarthas, that kind of bad habit, which is prominent in all of us, because generally, even amongst devotees, we tend to associate the mind as the self. And we have the habit of listening to the mind since time immemorial, as the boss, as the knower, as the self. Whereas the actual hierarchy is that there's a soul, there's the intelligence of the soul, and then there's the mind. But in material life, generally, it's the mind is dictating, and the intelligence has become subservient. The duty of the mind, Prabhupada says, is the business of the mind is to accept and reject for my sense gratification. And the contaminated intelligence follows that mind and looks for ways to arrange the material environment for that sense gratification. And that's why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said very emphatically, when you first get up in the morning, beat your mind with shoes. Well, he doesn't say beat yourself. He says beat your mind with shoes. And before you take rest, beat your mind with a broomstick again, 100 times, morning and evening. So that gives some idea where the mind is supposed to be. Subservient. So it's important to be aware of that and to practice noticing what the mind is saying. It arises from sense perception, Muskana Bharata. One should learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So tolerating, yes, we tolerate, like my body's getting older, my digestion's falling apart, my teeth are falling out. It's breaking down. I tolerate that, but at the same time, I find many times devotees say that they think or say tolerance means just gritting your teeth and forcing yourself through. But Krishna says one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So how can I be, if I'm disturbed, then maybe my tolerance is avoiding, rejecting, denying, pretending that I don't have lusty desires, or that everything's fine the way it is. Haribol Prabhu, I'm fine. You know what fine means? Frustrated. insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Fine. Frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So if someone says, "Oh, I'm fine," how you doing, Prabhu? "Oh, fine." Then you might think again. Generally, we don't talk about what's really going on. So, in any case, being undisturbed by the happiness and distress, especially the distress. Sometimes I think, okay, we're struggling to tolerate suffering, distress, anxiety, pain, whatever, misery. Wait till you have to tolerate happiness. And that's a problem, because the more we advance in Krishna consciousness, naturally, the mode of goodness becomes more prominent. And what is the symptom of mode of goodness? Thinking I'm happier than other people. And I may be experiencing more material comfort and may be more able to relax. And that could mean becoming complacent. It has nothing to do with spiritual life. But that's a danger. Prabhupada says most of my disciples are aiming for the heavenly planets. So, tolerating the good and the bad materially, especially the good, eventually. Depends on where we are. I find myself feeling some of the time that everything's okay. Everything's okay. But the reality is, until I'm fully Krishna conscious, just eagerly, enthusiastically, burstingly engaged, excitedly engaged in devotional service, and eager and feeling, oh, as the Goswami says, say that they didn't say, "Oh, we've seen Krishna, we found Krishna." They were always saying, "Where is Krishna? Is he on the bank of the Jamuna? Is he there in the bushes? Kunja Bihari? Is he by Radha Kund or Shama Kund?" Where? They never said, "Well, we found Krishna." They were eternal learners, eternal adventurers, constantly searching. They were Krishna conscious, and yet they felt that they weren't fully surrendered or purified. They were thinking themselves most lowly and fallen. So to become aware of how far I am from Krishna, that's valuable. It means I'm advancing. It means I'm, as I said, the recovering of ignorance caused by the actions and reactions of our past activities, or anything even in this life, which isn't pure, are being dissipated, destroyed. So to tolerate does not mean to avoid or deny or pretend. It means, and anartha, what does anartha nivritti mean? Cleaning, pulling the weeds from the garden of the heart. The lust, the anger, the greed, the envy, the material attachments, doubts, Doubts are valuable. When we open them up, we share them in confidence with trustworthy, like-minded devotees and get them resolved. Because it's a very good example, because a doubt, which is a function of intelligence. If people don't think, they won't have any doubts. And yet material life means doubting that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and our best friend and the controller and proprietor of all planetary systems and universes. We may think, oh, I accept Krishna. But if that's not manifest in every thought, word, and deed in our daily lives, ultimately, even when we're sleeping, the pure devotee is not unconscious in sleep. He or she allows the body to rest, because that's what it needs, and seem to be, it is asleep, but internally, the consciousness is never diminished. The pure devotee is always 24/7 thinking, chanting, praying, serving Krishna. Even in sleep, so-called sleep. There is no sleep for the advanced devotee. There is no sleep at all. Just letting the body rest. So we don't want to avoid. Anartha-nivritti means looking at those weeds. As Sri Upanishad said, we must know avidya and vidya side by side. We must understand the material energy, the material world, the material dynamic, and it's all there in the mind. Doesn't mean we have to go deeply into geology or chemistry. Some people may do that for Krishna, but that's not what it means. It means to understand how the material energy is acting. And right here, Krishna is giving us another lesson on an aspect of that. That there are good and bad reactions. There are reactions to good and bad actions. Any kind of action which isn't Krishna conscious or for the purpose. Often devotees think, well, I'm not pure, so what I'm doing isn't really devotional service. But any endeavor for Krishna, that is some level, that is some degree, it may be mixed with a mode of ignorance. It may be mixed with a mode of passion, maybe mixed with a mode of goodness. Ultimately, pure devotional service is beyond any of those three. But unless we act according to where we're at now, whatever the mixture is of the modes of nature with our devotional service, that is purifying. And that's an indication we get from this verse. If we're engaged in devotional service, whatever level of devotional service we're on, we're ridding ourselves of good and bad actions and reactions. And in the previous verse, Krishna said to Arjuna, O Dhananjaya, rid yourself of all fruitive activities by devotional service and surrender fully to that consciousness. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. So it's an instruction which prefaces today's verse. Rid yourself of all fruitive activities by devotional service. Another indication that by devotional service, we rid ourselves. Probably Krishna is saying it in different ways. We rid ourselves of all fruitive activities. So the activities themselves, because we're improving the quality and the degree of which it's devotional service, that becomes eliminated, replaced actually. It's not we're stopping activity. That's the impersonalist. The impersonalist thing where you stop all material activities. And that's spiritual life. It's not this, it's not that, it's not the other. But they don't know actually what it actually, excuse me, what it actually is. It's not this, not that, not the other. But what is it? It's devotional service is what is the alternative. You can deny the denial of material philosophy or material life is not spiritual life. Spiritual life means the positive alternative. Just denying everything material, as the Mayavadis do, trying to stop everything, is not spiritual life. They also have desire for liberation. Therefore, they're also karmic because they also have that desire. So impersonalism may be a step, but Krishna consciousness includes impersonalism. We stop material activities by engaging in spiritual activities. So engaging in devotional service, whatever level we're on, that's replacing the material activity. It's not just, it's denying it by replacing it. We're denying it by replacing it with something better. Param drisva nivartante. By experiencing a higher taste, one becomes fixed in consciousness and not only can tolerate the urges and the attractions of the material entity, but can be satisfied in it. In spiritual life, rather. Negate and replace the natural experience of attraction, whether it's to the opposite sex or to nice food or whatever it is, gradually by engaging more in service, though that lust becomes that burning fire of lust, which manifests ultimately in anger and rage and wrath because of frustration. By contemplation of the object of the senses, one becomes attached to them. And from attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger develops because of frustration. And from anger, there's bewilderment and loss of memory. And when the memory is lost, one falls down again into the material pool, into the material consciousness. So yes, by taking responsibility, we realize, we experience our enthusiastic, excited, energized, dynamic, vital self, and we can continue to at least get back up to where we were, and gradually continuing to do that by the faith that comes from the realization and the experience of doing it and having done it in the past, and then taking it to the next step. So I'm preaching to myself as much as anyone else here. We're all in the same boat. So maybe there are some questions or comments. Please share anything or ask anything, please. Checking to see if we have anyone else on here. Not on the Zoom. Yes, Howard, if you have anything, any thoughts or doubts or realizations or questions, please share. Appreciate it. Haven't seen you in a while. It's nice to have you back. It's almost time to finish, but we can go for a few more minutes if you like. Anything else? Anything specific you'd like to ask or share? And in terms of changing one's karma. Bhagavad Gita 437 says it very clearly. And there's at least 3 places here in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada mentions it in the introduction. Okay, no problem. Just listening. Wonderful. Shravana. So chapter 4, verse 37 does the same thing in different ways. 37. Krishna says, as the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. As the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge. So knowledge, the more we develop knowledge and realization, what is the word? Jnana Agni. Agni means fire, and Jnana means knowledge. So the fire of knowledge, it burns to ashes all reactions to material activity. So Krishna says it there. And he said, Prabhupada says in the purport, perfect knowledge of self and super self and of their relationship is compared here into fire. This fire not only burns up all reactions to impious activities, but also reactions to pious activities, turning them to ashes. In the Vedas, it is stated, Ube, Ubhaivasha, Ete Tarati Amrita, Sadva Sadhuni. One overcomes both the pious and impious interactions of work. And there are references to the same thing in the Uddhava Gita, the 11th chapter, 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 11, chapter 14, verse number 18, and also in the 3rd canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 33, verse 6. So I'll give you my email address, Howard. I may have given that to you before, but just in case. Send me your reminder. You'd like to join us on Zoom, and I can send you the invitation. You can jump on directly. Panorama108@gmail.com. Hare Krishna. And for those who are interested, also my wife, Bhakti Marga Dasi, is presenting, you're welcome, Howard, is presenting a couples course online on the 10th of December, New Zealand time. That would be the 11th of December, American time, probably about 9:30 a.m., which I think Los Angeles time would be 12:30 noontime, 12:30 midday on the 9th of December. I can, if you want that also, I can send that information to you. However, you just ask for that. Remind me to send it to you if you or anyone else. It's a couples course about applied Shravanam Kirtanam. In other words, applying Bhagavad Gita in interpersonal relationships. It's also for singles if someone is wanting to rescue, revive a drowning relationship, or wants to reestablish a new one or a first one. It's hard to sometimes to relate in a twosome and maintain that for whatever reason. And this course is about applying Shravanam Kirtanam in a relationship so that we can not only establish a strong relationship, but maintain it. My wife and I have been together for more than 30 years now. We weren't always going to be to stay together, but because we stuck with it and learned more about how to apply Krishna consciousness in the practical relationship day to day, with the disturbances, the conflicts, the anger, the codependence, so many things. It's very valuable. Well, thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Let us now offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone, who are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Manchukopativasya, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.